Hey guys, this is Rennie with MAXX-D trailers. Today I'd like to go over a very important topic, an oil bath axle versus a grease packed axle. Which one is better? They both have their pros. With an oil bath axle, they tend to run cooler. However, with a grease packed axle, your margin for error is a lot greater and your maintenance intervals are a lot longer as well. So what I've got behind me is a Dexter 10,000 pound electric brake axle that's tore apart so that we can see how they're made. So essentially this hub would be on the spindle. You would have this cap on the outside to keep all your grease or oil in, and then this bearing would be on the inside of that race. Then what you would have on this side, and these parts are not necessarily from this axle, they're just to showcase what they do. You would have another bearing right here, and then another seal. This seal plays a very crucial role in the operation of this axle. This seal keeps your oil and grease in the spot where it needs to be so that everything's lubricated. If this seal develops a leak on an oil bath axle, and that could happen from overloading your trailer constantly, maybe you're loaded to capacity and you're running over some bumpy roads, it'll vibrate your bearings and your seal and cause a small leak. Or the biggest contributor is lack of maintenance, because we all run our trailers as often as we can. We like these things, these things are investments. We buy them to put them to work. If this seal develops a leak on an oil bath axle, you run the risk of, one, it going onto your brakes and you lose your brakes, or more likely, it'll just run out the back of your hub. Neither one of them is good because you don't notice the leak develop because you're sitting in your truck, you're driving. Well, when this thing starts to leak, things get dangerous real fast. If this is an oil bath axle, your oil, because they're not completely filled up with oil, your oil will start to leak out very quickly, and then you have about 50 miles to catch it before, if you don't catch it, your bearings will get so hot that they will literally weld to your spindle, and your axle is done for. You'd have to get a whole new axle. Versus with a grease-packed axle, because it's not a liquid, you would just pack your bearings and your races full of grease. If you develop a leak here, you're more or less fine for about 250 to 500 miles, at which point that's about a day's worth of travel, and you can catch it. Grease won't just run out the back of it or the front of it. It'll still keep everything lubricated, so your margin of error is far greater on a grease-packed axle. The other thing to an oil bath axle, again, because they're not full with oil, when you leave your trailer sitting, if it sits for 2 to 4 weeks or longer, and this could happen at the dealer's lot, or if you buy it and you park it in your barn for a while, your oil will run down to the bottom of your bearing, which leaves the whole top part dry, leaves it uncovered. With humidity, you'll build up some condensation, and in time, your bearings will develop rust. Again, it's one of those things that if you don't maintenance your trailer regularly, you won't catch that. And it'll cause your oil to get dirty. It could cause leaks in your seal, once more exposing you to all the risks of welding your bearings to a spindle. It's for that reason that when you talk to a lot of dealerships that sell a lot of goosenecks, whether it be to a hotshot guy or to a farmer, especially the hotshotter, when they bring it in for maintenance, and if there's any leaking oil or a different issue, a lot of times what these dealerships will do, they'll actually drain your oil out, clean it off, and they'll just pack your bearings full of grease. And then you're down the road, you essentially don't have any more issues. Very important to note though, that if you have a grease-packed axle, you cannot convert it back to oil. However, you can convert an oil bath axle to grease, which is what I would recommend. The service interval on a grease-packed axle is about 70,000 miles, versus with oil, because of the chance of leaking, you really should be maintaining that axle every 10,000 miles. So you're spending more in maintenance on an oil bath axle. Now the benefit is it runs cooler, but the question is, do you need it to run cooler? A lot of your heat on your axle comes from the use of your brakes regardless, so both will essentially get hot, but the grease has just a lot more margin of error should something go wrong. And we all know that in the real world things happen. You maybe overload your trailer, you're too busy to do your maintenance one weekend, whenever it's time, whatever the case may be, you just have a lot more margin of error on a grease-packed axle. It's for this reason that all 2026 and newer MAXX-D trailers come standard with Dexter grease-packed axles. We no longer offer any oil bath axles, even in a tandem dual setup. Head over to your local MAXX-D dealer and compare the differences yourself.